welcome to Lilybug's Library, and my name's Linda, and welcome back if you've been here before, and thanks for dropping in again. So today we're going to do Friday Reads, Friday Update. So I've got 3 books that I read this past week. Not too bad. So the first one was purely for enjoyment. I mean, they're all purely for enjoyment, let's face it, but this one in particular, it was called Dial C for Chihuahua. And it's by Waverly Curtis, and the Chihuahua's name in the book is called Pepe. And Pepe can, when he barks, everyone else hears barks except, a couple people, and one of them is the woman who adopted him from the shelter. So her name is Jerry, and she's excited to have Pepe. She's, really just has wanted a dog and, has had, kind of a lot of things happen in her life, and she was excited to get him. But a little shocked when she found out he could speak. So he's a bilingual Chihuahua. He speaks English and Spanish, and he's got a big personality. One of the things he says is, "I am Pepe, but you can call me El Jefe," meaning the boss. So just kind of, made me laugh. So, Jerry takes him on, and they start to live together. And she, he's got, like I said, a big personality. So a lot of it's about him and his stories and his exaggerations and him trying to help her when she ends up stumbling on a murder. So it was really good. It was, would I read more of them? I don't know. It's hard to say. I really enjoyed Pepe, but he's a lot. He's a little much, like one of these, like if he was a person with that big of a personality and that much boasting, I probably wouldn't want to hang out with him. So he gets away with it more because he's a cute little Chihuahua, but do I want to hang out with him again? We'll see. But anyway, it was good. I would give it 3.5, rounded up to 4. So that was the first one. The next one I read for a book club that I belong to, and it was The Birthday Lunch by Joan Clark. And I actually have book club tonight, so I I was a little hesitant to say anything about the book yet, but if the ladies watch, they probably won't get around to it that quickly anyway. So we'll give it a shot. So this one is about Lily McNabb, and it opens up on her 58th birthday. And she lives in a town that actually does exist. It's a little small town in New Brunswick called Sussex. And so and I believe that's where the author is from as well. And so this is about her life and death. And she has a sister named Laverne. So Laverne's a little almost too attached to Lily. And so Lily and her husband, Hal, I was going to call him Hank. Lily and her husband, Hal, live in this house, but downstairs in like a separate apartment is her sister Laverne. A little too close for comfort, for the relationship that they have. So Laverne doesn't really respect her boundaries, and I don't think Lily really pushes her boundaries. So she's always just kind of coming in when she wants to. She doesn't knock. She's trying to spend time with Lily without her husband, without Lily's husband, because she doesn't really care for him, and she's jealous of him, basically. So I won't tell you much more about it than that, just because what does happen ends up causing Lily's death, and all the rest of the book has to do with that. And that's not really a spoiler. It says so in the synopsis. So it's a great novel, really, if you have suffered grief and you're trying to work through that. And I mean, it would be a difficult read, certainly, if you're newly grieved. I don't know how else to put that. But if someone has recently died in your life and you're reading this, it would be tough to get through for sure. But she really does a great job of kind of breaking down the whole process, all the things that go into trying to grieve for someone. I mean, all the funeral, the reception, in her case, like the autopsy and different things that go on, right? And the different people that show up at your door, and they've got casseroles and they've got flowers, and you're just trying to somehow keep putting one foot in front of the other, and it can be a lot. And I thought that Joan Clark did a really good job navigating through that and really helping us to see what a person would go through. So excellent book. I would give it 4 out of 5. And I grew up in New Brunswick, so it was interesting to read about different places there as well. All right, so that is that one. And then the last one was also the last of my middle grade March books. So this one was called No Fixed Address, and it was by Susan Nielsen. I think that's the name I see on there is Nielsen. And this one, it really evoked all my emotions. I was sad, I was happy, I was angry, I was a lot of things reading this. So it's about Felix Knutson, who is 12, and he's a sweet kid. He's got a great brain for trivia. He's honest. He is a lot of things. And his mom, who loves him, is very unreliable. She can't hold on to a job or a house. So, and it's, and this is, I think, what made me so angry about it. She doesn't have, like she doesn't really have a mental illness. She does fall into what Felix calls her slumps sometimes. And I think pretty much anybody would, considering the way she's living. But every time she gets a job and things seem to be turning around, she sabotages herself by saying something stupid or arguing with the boss or not showing up or, all kinds of things. So she just can't hold a job. Well, if you can't hold a job, you can't pay rent. And as we know, certainly in today's economy, there's a lot of people who end up homeless. And, a portion of them through no fault of their own. But she just kept making those same mistakes. And I so wanted to just go through the book and, shake her and say, like, come on, lady, you got a kid, get this together. But I can't do that. So I just kept reading. So they lose their apartment. They end up moving into their camper van. And of course, it's supposed to be, just until I get the next job, just until I'm a couple weeks ahead. And that never happens. So they end up having to live there. Well, she doesn't want to lose her child. She does love him, and he loves her. And so she tells him basically, keep quiet about this. And so he does, but so now it's a secret. And now he's going to school where he doesn't really even belong there because he's not in a certain area for the school. He really has no home. And, one lie kind of goes on to another until it's a large amount of lies that he's telling when he really doesn't want to. His mother doesn't seem to have any problem with that. She is lying left, right, and center. And she's, sometimes breaking into people's homes to get things. And she's not above stealing. She's not above lying. And I know, some of it is out of desperation, to help her child. But, it doesn't make it right. I mean, she needs to get help from the organizations that can help her, but she doesn't want to do that. So anyway, it continues on, and I won't go into any more of it than that, but basically, like, it was just really hard. Like, you had sympathy for Felix, and in some ways you had sympathy for Astrid too, but in other ways, like I said, it's the different choices that she made were just without thought for her child a lot of times, and that bothered me. But it was good. It was certainly very engaging. Like, I really wanted to see what was going to happen to these two. And I was happy with a lot of the secondary characters and their empathy towards Felix. and the ways that he had to adjust life because he was living in a van, ways that you don't even think about. And I know that's a lot of people's realities today, is having to live in a van or live in a truck or live in a tent. And it's certainly not easy. And for a child, I won't say it's any harder, but it's hard. It's, there's a lot of things that you just can't, that you take for granted living in a home, and that you can't take for granted when you live somewhere like that. So it gives you certainly a lot of empathy and sympathy towards, people in that circumstance, and whether it was through something they did or didn't do, or whether it was just life, doesn't matter. It's still difficult, and still something that really has a stigma attached to it as well. So thought it was great. I would give it 4.5 rounded up to 5. So that was what I read this week. I did just finish one of the first ones for April, but I'll talk about that next time because I just finished it. I didn't have time to even kind of think about it. So what I'm reading currently, it's funny because it's not quite April yet, so I haven't got a lot of April things on there. But I'm reading Barely Departed by Meg Macy. That's one of the I can't remember what the series is called, but it's like the Teddy Bear Shop series. So I'm reading that. I'm listening to Kingdom of the Blind by Louise Penny. Now that's not. I've got a whole bunch before and a whole bunch after that one to be caught up on the series, but I just kind of randomly picked one off of my library app because I've read the first one, and I read one very recently, like it was probably her, 20th. But when I went looking for like the second, the third, and the fourth, they were all out of all of them, so I would have to put them on hold. So I just randomly picked one. But so far it's great. And then Wonderful Husband and I are still reading A House of Mirrors by Liz Hedgecock. And we're also doing the Easter Code, a 40-day journey to the cross, as our evening devotionals. And what we're watching a lot of things lately. We're watching the Spring Baking Championship. We're watching The Pit, and we're watching Extracted. So out of all those, probably the one that you would know least about would be Extracted. So that one has been very interesting, really. It's we always had watched the show on History Channel called Alone, where they put all these people into the woods alone, and they have to try to survive there and build their shelter and all those things. But they were alone, And with this one, the contestants are alone out there, but they have two loved ones back at what they call headquarters who are helping make decisions about supplies that they can get and things like that. What the people don't, I think, totally understand is that sometimes their loved ones are having to fight with other families to get them something, and it doesn't always work out well. So that part is heartbreaking to watch. I'm sure it's heartbreaking for them as well. But it's an interesting, different take on it. And you learn really quick, like who can survive and who is struggling. And you also learn the families that are there strictly for the money, and the ones that really care about their loved ones and are worried that they're going to get sick or something like this. So yeah, it's been interesting. And then what I'm creating, I'll show you. I've bought this little wooden structure off of from Dollar Store, and I couldn't figure out, really looking at it, is it supposed to be a church? Is it supposed to be an apartment? So I made it a church. I don't know if it's supposed to be, but and it's still like a bit of a work in progress, but we're getting there. So I painted it, and then I added some little bunnies in the yard, and I put a little bird up here on the roof because there was a little hole where you were supposed to hang it from this rope, and I just cut the rope off and then tucked the bird in the hole, and then put some flowers around this side. So it, like I said, it's if it is going to be a church, I guess I'll maybe put a cross on the. It's funny, I don't think I just realized it has no door. I never noticed that before, but look, it's got like windows here and a window there and windows here. There's no door. Okay, well, I'm not sure what we're going to do about that, except maybe ignore it. But I might put a little cross above one of the windows or something. I was thinking of buying some colored cellophane and putting it in the windows so it would look like stained glass, but that might be more than I want to tackle. But it's been fun to do anyway. Isn't that funny? No door. Okay. I feel like that's Hotel California. Once you go in, you can't get out. Okay, so the other thing I had was what I'm looking forward to. And my birthday's on Saturday, so I'm looking forward to going out in the evening. Wonderful husband's taking me out with friends to celebrate and have supper. And just looking forward to the day. So I don't have, I'm not really, I mean, I don't think any of us necessarily love some of the parts of aging. But the number doesn't particularly bother me. I'm going to be 59, and I'm okay with that. You know, I mean, it's one of those things where you might like the body you had at 30, or you might like different things, but I like the way I feel about myself at 59, and I like the wisdom I've gained. Not that I'm, you know, not that I'm Yoda or anything, but you gain a little wisdom along the way, I like to think. And I have, you know, two amazing children and wonderful grandchildren and, you know, a sister and a brother and a husband. And, you know, I mean, I really couldn't ask for more. So, in spite of any health difficulties or whatever, I'm looking forward to 59. All right. Well, I hope everyone has a great day and a great weekend. It was winter here yesterday. Today it's spring again. So we're just going to go with it. I put on a nice spring kind of shirt, and we're going to pretend that it's going to stay. So we'll see how it goes. Talk to you soon, friends. Bye-bye.